Dzień dobry, meatheads. Let's go. You see the text. Tenders are back on the grill for this absolute meat locker. So make sure to grill the sub button and keep grilling and chilling. I am a lock. I am a lock. I am a lock.
Hey, that's dog lock.
I am a lock.
Let's go, boys. Back again. Finally, meat is back in the saddle. No more Glansberg from your boy over here. So it's good to have you back, meat. Very curious to hear your perspective on this week's fights for sure. But before we even touch down at the Apex, what were your thoughts on UFC 299, meat boy? I mean, you and I got to watch it together. We were enjoying all the fights beginning to end. There were a couple fights that stood out to me, but what was your favorite part about 299?
Yeah, no, 299 was an absolute treat for the meaties. That card was one of the best cards I've seen in a long time. I feel like from beginning to end, man. I mean, it's always easy to forget about all the other banker cards in the past, but I feel like that was probably a top 10 fight card that I've ever seen. But I'd really have to dig into the library of UFC cards to really compare. But just off the top of my head, I mean, that was just bangers from beginning to end. I could not believe on how sick every fight was. It was surprising that wasn't UFC 300. That's how stacked that was. I feel like there's no way UFC 300. Like, sure, maybe the fighters could be more hyped or something, but like, there's no way the performances and the battles that we saw last weekend are gonna be better at UFC 300. There's just no way. If it's better than 299, I will be mind blown. That will be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes we fall victim of the moment, and we have short-term memory when it comes to like stacking up UFC cards and how they compare with previous ones. But 299 was absolute start to finish bangers all the way through. A great split of decisions and finishes. I mean, a finish that jumps out to me right away was Robelis Despain, easy light work over RuneScape. Took him 18 seconds. I mean, that was very exciting for a debutant like Despain, even at 35 years old, to make that immediate noise. So we're breaking down Tybura and Tuivasa in a little bit. The Meatlock, you will see the text, but I like Despain to fight either the winner or loser of that, but perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves. I mean, even on the prelims, we saw fighters like Curtis Blades, Jailton Almeida, Gamrot, RDA, Kyler Phillips put on a beautiful performance against Pedro Munoz. I mean, it was crazy that literally all the bottom fights could potentially be main card, maybe even meat event slots on various fight nights. I mean, rarely do we see those guys on the prelims for sure. And then the main card was just more of the same. What were your thoughts on Peter Young? He made a triumphant return against the Donger. It wasn't looking great early. Song Yadong won that first round, but what'd you like from Peter Yan in the rebound? I mean, I know you picked him, so what were your thoughts on Peter Yan, your boy?
Yeah, Peter Yan looked great that first round. He really had to make those adjustments, but it just shows that Peter Yan is the real deal. He kept that strength, that pace, that speed for 3 full rounds. We've seen him do it for 5. The Donger was, I mean, I've never seen somebody move and strike as fast as he was in that first round, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, Peter Yan is so screwed this fight. But is there any way he can keep the speed up? Well, he couldn't, and that's where Peter Yan kept his pace and his striking, his ability. He started doing the coolest takedowns, the coolest trips, just swagging out on Mr. Tired, Dongard, and Dong was still throwing bombs, still throwing good, but it was nothing like that first round. Like, I couldn't even see his punches. Throw in the comments if any of you guys have ever seen somebody move and strike that fast. If Donger can upgrade it to 3 rounds or 5 rounds at that speed, I don't see how anyone's going to beat him. His takedowns look good. His defense looked good. Dong was still in it from beginning to end, but second, third round was pretty convincing. Peter Yan had that. Peter Yan is the real deal. But man, if Song Yadong can level up and maintain that explosive power, I think that whole division is screwed. I mean, he can beat basically anyone in that division that first round as long as they survive. They could win. If they don't survive, well, obviously the Dong's got him. That was a crazy fight, a very fun fight nonetheless.
Yeah, that fight was sick. I mean, we were just mystified by the speed that the Donger was offering in that first round, because you're right, we couldn't even see the strikes he was throwing. Peter seemingly couldn't as well, but he sort of started to, his gas tank started to wane a little bit, and as a result, Peter, the veteran, just came back and really dominated those last 2 rounds. It was interesting because that fight opened as like basically a pick'em, right? And then after the first round, the live odds, I mean, the Donger had swelled to like a minus 270 favorite. It was around plus 200 live odds for Peter Yan. And then by the end of the second round, those odds were entirely flipped, where Peter Yan was then a 2-1 favorite and the Donger was a 2-1 dog. So a very interesting fight to map via the odds perspective. And if he can sort of, I don't know, link up with Merab Dvalishvili and become the CEO, so to speak, then he would definitely be a guy to avoid, because the Donger in that first round looked absolutely amazing for sure. And then quickly, Meat Boy, Jack Della versus Gilbert Burns. You and I both liked Gilbert Burns as what we thought was a pretty juicy dog. I thought he was perhaps minutes away from winning the fight. It seemed like in that third round he prioritized the finish over perhaps the victory, because he was in an advantageous position on the ground over Jack Della. He had Jack Della pinned, and then he looked like he tried to advance the position, really prioritize that finish. Jack Della squirms out and then just lands just a beautiful strike on him to finish him on the feet. So what were your thoughts on that welterweight matchup between Jack Della and Gilbert?
Yeah, that was a fun fight too. I mean, yeah, I thought Burns had that pretty easy work. I mean, he is definitely the more, I guess you could say, complete fighter, it seemed. But Jack Della's got those bombs and a little bit of luck and MMA gods on his side, where he caught Burns pretty darn good. And it definitely seemed that Jack Della had leveled up that takedown defense and, recovery, because versus Half-Ass, he was getting mauled pretty easily and he couldn't get up. It seemed Gilbert Burns couldn't deal with the size and strength. He couldn't hold him and keep him down. If he was able to just keep him down, I think if they ran that back, or maybe Gilbert Burns' time's up. I don't know. Gilbert Burns' prime, like pre losing to Usman, that wouldn't have even been a fair fight. It would have been sad to watch Jack get absolutely mauled. But maybe Jack leveled up. I don't know. Pretty exciting to see though, some fresh young blood. Jack's got those hands. His striking is absolutely insane. It just seems to me that he's not that good, but yet he finds everybody's chin to send them to the shadow realm. So maybe he is that good? I don't know. But I'm excited to see him fight next bout, whoever he faces, because that's going to be a sick one. Yeah, that was a crazy fight too.
Yeah, for sure. His striking is next level, and his grappling definitely improved. I mean, that Basil Half-Ass fight, that was on a couple days' notice. He clearly wasn't prepared for that type of game plan, but I thought that he was a little bit more prepared in the grappling versus Burns in this one. But I also think that Burns had opportunities to win that fight if he just maybe, I don't want to say played it more safely, but perhaps a little bit more wisely in that third round. Because if he just sort of smushes Jack Della for the remaining 3 minutes, then I think he probably rounds out a decision. But nonetheless, great stuff from Jack Della, and the dude gets on the mic and calls out Shavkat afterwards. You got to appreciate that. I mean, besides my boy Bilal Muhammad, no one out there is mentioning Shavkat. So for Jack Della to seek that one out, I thought was pretty incredible. And then Kevin Holland versus MVP, Meat Boy. Man, that one was pretty frustrating. As someone who was pretty bullish on Kevin Holland, MVP really just kind of stupefied him on the feet. What were your thoughts on that fight? And is MVP perhaps a title challenger in 2024?
Yeah, that was a crazy one too. MVP looks like the most frustrating fighter to ever go against ever. Like I've seen some MVP fights, but that was just an absolute masterclass of like, wow, Kevin Holland's no joke, and he made that look pretty easy. And Kevin kind of pulled a milkman and just kind of gave up. He was so frustrated. He's like, what do? I try to walk him down. He's too fast. He runs away, and then he's so quick. I mean, I couldn't believe he would just be standing there. And I think what it is and why it's so tricky is those arms are down. When the hands are up, you can see them coming in. But when they're lower than your eyesight, you're typically not going to be looking down at their waist where the hands are. You're always kind of looking at like their chest or their head to kind of see the kicks and the punches and all that. It's so much harder to see a punch coming from below than by eye to eye, you know? So it's one of those tricky things, and Kevin just couldn't figure it out. Like, that was just crazy. MVP is the real deal, and I think they're going to, you know, push him quickly to a title fight. Maybe one more than title, or maybe even a title. They hate Bilal Muhammad, so it makes sense that he gets the next title shot.
Yeah, who knows what happens next? I mean, post Ramadan, there should be plenty of options for whoever does get that next title shot for sure. But yeah, MVP has to be on that short list because the Undertaker intro was fire and his performance was as well. I love the comparison between Chris Curtis, the Milkman, and Kevin Holland because very similar. Because Kevin Holland had no answers and he was clearly frustrated. It seemed like he almost gave up with a few minutes to go. So good stuff from MVP. I was reading, there's some speculation maybe MVP versus Wonder Boy happens, but I kind of hope that fight doesn't happen. I almost wonder if that would be kind of a stalemate on the feet and look a little bit too much like karate combat. So I don't know about that one, but MVP, a lot of fun stuff ahead for sure. And then in the co-meets, fight of the night, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. We've been all over BSD for a while. I picked Dustin to get this one done. I thought it was going to be a later finish, but a second round KO, easy light work for Dustin. And the first round was tough, right? Benoit really had his strong moments. It looked like he was perhaps going to start controlling the action, but Dustin Poirier, he kept pulling guillotine, and when that was unsuccessful, just decided to just start landing some heavy bombs. So what are your thoughts on Dustin? What do you think's next for him, and how does BSD rebound?
Yeah, you know, I think BSD rebounds. I think he rebounds pretty darn good. I think it's one of those fights where like Gamer, you know, he lost a big opportunity, and look at him now. He's coming back stronger than ever. And I don't really think there's any stock loss, but I think if Dustin lost, it was one of those things that's like, hey, Dustin, maybe retire. He's been in the game for so long, and I just can't believe he's still fighting at this level, arguably looking better than ever. And that just showed that a veteran, an absolute legend, Dustin Poirier is, veteran move where, you know, his veteran, IQ and just like, hey, I just got to survive this. Like, man, he even said, this guy's beating me up. He's beating me up bad. And his strength was insane. Well, it looked like, Benoit was a two-pump chump, and he couldn't keep that pace because we were watching it. We were like, there's no way he can keep this pace. I couldn't believe that Dustin didn't get submitted or KO'd, to be honest. Like, that pace was insane. Dustin was breathing crazy heavy, and it looked like Benoit did not breathe one time in 10 minutes. So it was a little concerning. I don't know if he forgot to breathe. He maybe needed like Colby Covington's, coaches in his corner or something, but it looked like he wasn't breathing, but yet he definitely gassed out as we saw. And then Dustin threw some absolute bombs and gave him the good old Conor McGregor sleepy poo. So that was a crazy fight. I mean, every fight on that card was absolutely insane. They all should have been the headliners. They all should have been 5 rounds. Such a fun UFC weekend.
Fun UFC weekend for sure, and you're absolutely right. It seemed like BSD did need Colby's coaches to remind him to breathe because he seemingly wasn't in there. And yeah, I remember us discussing how Dustin looked kind of gassed after that first round, but can never count out Dustin. The dude has iron will, absolute legend experience for him over the weekend. And then lastly, would be remiss if we didn't discuss O'Malley, Chito Vera. Absolute domination from Sean O'Malley. 50-45s across the board, even a 50-44 in there. So a 10-8 was rendered. Chito really had no answer. He absorbed 230 strikes. I mean, kudos to him for making it through the 25 minutes. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to finish Chito Vera. I mean, if he can absorb all those shots, I mean, that knee up the middle that seemingly shattered Chito's face was one of the gnarliest sounds I've ever heard in a UFC fight, and somehow Chito managed to survive. So hats off to Sean. I had picked Chito. I anticipated that fight being way closer than it was, but it was start to finish domination, and yeah, got to give Sean his flowers on that one. Did the fight go down exactly as you thought it would? And do you think Sean gets Ilya next? Is it Sean versus Merab? Is it Sean versus Corey? What happens with O'Malley?
Yeah, I don't think Ilya, it doesn't seem like Ilya wants to smoke. It looks like Ilya is still chasing Conor McGregor at 125 or whatever bizarreness he's thinking in his own world. I don't know if, Ilya's even thinking correctly with that one. Big head scratcher. But I think Sean's next bout, it's gotta be Merab. Corey Sandhagen looks like he's trying to fight Umar, so I don't know why Corey Sandhagen isn't demanding Sugar, because I think Corey deserves that ASAP. But I think Merab, we kind of talked about it. Merab might be an easier fight than Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen kind of do it all, and his striking and wrestling is just as good, if not the same level as all these other top guys, but he can do both, not just one. I mean, is Merab looks insane, but he fought Henry Cejudo, who's also 5'2". Like, what happens when you fight someone as big as Sean? You get what happened to the Funk. So I just think this is going to be a Funk 2.0, unless Merab is just that crazy and somehow he just gets in and can stop his movement. But it seems that nobody can stop Sugar's speed and movement, and everybody is reacting to his flinches. I mean, it's crazy because when you watch the fight, if you're not looking at Sugar and you're not paying attention to his his flinches, it looks like he's just standing there, but he's throwing up the hips and his kicks. He's so fast with it, and you see the opponents. It looks very bizarre unless you're really focusing on it. It just looks like his opponent is reacting to nothing because it's so bizarre. But that's how afraid they are, because they know he has that KO. They know he has that speed. And I kind of just see Merab getting knocked out, but it's probably Merab for whatever reason. The fans want it. For whatever reason, everyone's hyping it up to be. And I think UFC likes that. Like, hey, let's get this Merab guy out of here. Send him to BKFC with his buddy Aljo because they won't fight each other. Let's have Sugar sleep the 5-1 guy.
Yeah, that could be next for sure. You touched on it. It's that rare power combination of speed and power for Sugar Sean, and just those quick flinches, like you said, that really just kind of stupefy guys out there. And I wonder what Dvalishvili would look like against him. Just because, I mean, comparable to Aljo, who got absolutely slept. I mean, you wonder if that same outcome would happen for Merab. And then regarding Sandhagen, you mentioned how well-rounded he is, and he's got that same size, right? It's like O'Malley's so much bigger and longer than all these guys. Merab is 5'2", has barely any inch reach, and Corey's not. Corey's different. So Corey's going to probably continue to Sandhagen himself and not request a title shot / demand a title shot. So he probably does get Umar next, and then who knows what happens from there. But nonetheless, no shortage of challengers for O'Malley. A lot of stacked fighters at 135. Maybe even Peter Yan climbs his way back and gets a rematch sometime soon, because that wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to me. But nonetheless, me boy 299's in the books. We have an absolute, I mean, it's kind of a snoozer of a card, but at least our boy Tybura is on it. Do you want to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's get into the Meatlock.
Yeah, let's get into the Meatlock, dog. You see the text, swap us over. Obviously, our boy Marcin Tybura. Obviously, you saw the intro. Tybura has been a meathead for a long time. We've been riding with Tybura for a long time. I mean, the guy is the GOAT, and somehow it's a dog lock, meat boy. Somehow we're getting Tybura at plus 105 against Tuivasa, which to me is absolutely enticing and exciting, because if we look at Tybura, I mean, this is a guy who has won 8 of his last 10. The only 2 losses, who did he lose to? He lost a decision to Volkov in a fight where Volkov really just frustrated him with his length and size. I mean, the guy is 7'5" and fights like it for sure. And then most recently, it wasn't great for our boy, but it was against Tom Aspinall. And while yes, Tybura got slept in 73 seconds, Tom Aspinall was fighting in front of his hometown crowd. You knew Aspinall was going to get that one done, because Aspinall is the GOAT of GOATs, whereas Tybura is just simply the aging veteran GOAT for sure. But nonetheless, he's taking on Tuivasa, who at 14-6 is 6-6 in the UFC, and he's lost 3 straight and gotten finished in all of them. Got absolutely slept by Cyril Gane. Easy light work. First round against Sergey Pavlovich. That fight was over in less than a minute. And then most recently in September of last year, he got slept easy light work by an Ezekiel choke by, again, our boy Volkov. So it's been pretty rough for Tuivasa recently. We like this dog lock for our boy Marcin Tybura. So give me your thoughts on this meat lock. How do you think Tybura gets this one done over Tuivasa? And is it going to be early and often?
Yeah, I think it is going to be early and often. I think Tybura is the most slept-on heavyweight in the division. I mean, when you look at some of the guys he's beaten, it just shows that he is the real deal. But he catches the short end of the stick when he fights kind of the GOATs like Tom Lockspinall, which is truly unfortunate because that was easy light work for Tom. But I think this is going to be a funny fight because everyone's going to be thinking, oh, Tybura. Like, I bet you if you ask most people, no one's going to even know who Tybura is. Everyone's going to go, oh, Shuey, yeah, the Nelk boy, Shuey, he's going to knock this dude out. And then they go, oh, wait, who is this guy? Who's Tybura? Oh no, Shuey sleeping, first round submission. I think Marcin Tybura is levels above Shuey. Shuey does have a puncher's chance, he always does, but when he goes against those top level guys or those veterans that kind of know how to fight and survive, he loses. And that's what I see here. Tybura is going to absolutely dominate him. Maybe Shuey gets off a classic hit, Marcin drops, but then, submits him with Ezekiel choke from the bottom or something crazy. But yeah, I think Tybura is levels above this guy. And I think his size is going to really help. They're both big dudes, but Marcin Tybura, I think he's going to have the upper edge on that one.
Yeah, Tybura's a little bit bigger, right? He's 6'3". Tuivasa is barely 6 feet. 75-inch reach for Tuivasa, 78 for our boy Tybura. The only thing that doesn't help us is the age. Obviously, Tuivasa is the younger, more spry fighter, but Tybura's got that experience, and he's got that well-rounded game that when Tuivasa is forced to deal with, he usually doesn't do so successfully. I mean, if we look at the losses, Blagoy Ivanov, Sergey Spivak, Pavlovich, as mentioned, a lot of these guys have pretty similar skill sets to Tybura. So as long as Tybura can survive those early dangerous 3 minutes when Tuivasa is really swinging those hammer YOLOs, then Tybura should be able to get this one done for sure. But it's one of those rare ones, Meat Boy. Bullish on Tuivasa. 76% is fade in the Meat Boys. They're rolling with Bam Bam, and it's basically all brown. Of the 76%, essentially 98% of it is brown for the KO. 24% meanwhile is going with Tybura, and it's pretty diverse across the KO, submission, and decision. Any thoughts from the Tapology community, or is that just typical casual Tuivasa and Nelk?
No, I think all the people are sleeping, and all the hype beast is on the Shuey with the Nelk boys, and that's where they're just being delusional when they don't see Tybura as a real threat. Like the fact that he's not the favorite or a slight favorite, it just shows the power of Dana White and the hype boys and the dude that drinks beer from a shoe. Apparently people like that and like to bet on that. I do not. I think the Shuey's going to get slept and then go drink a shoe beer later with the boys after this L. I think this is going to be an unfortunate event and possibly the last for Mr. Shoeman, and he might go to BKFC because he'd probably do wonders there. He could drink a Shuey right before the fight, knock the dude out first exchange, and drink another Shuey right after. But Tybura is going to do it all. He's doing mixed martial arts. He's not going to swing and bang. He's going to probably take him down really easily and probably pummel him. Shuey's going to gas out and either get TKO'd or submitted.
Yeah, for sure. I like the idea of Tybura securing a takedown early and often because I think he probably learned in that Tom Aspinall fight that when he's trying to go strike for strike with these real heavy hammer hitting guys, then maybe it's a bad idea. So hopefully he takes him down right away and just really starts to implement his game, his MMA game, as opposed to the BKFC bar brawl style fight that Tuivasa will offer. And I like the idea of Tuivasa going to BKFC, maybe even PFL, because he could probably be the GOAT in either organization. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, we're rolling Tybura. Let us know down low if you are fading the Meatlock like Moicano, or you're rolling with the Meat Boys and avoiding the hype beast Nelk Boy hype train of Tuivasa. But we're throwing down on Tybura an easy 105. It's going to net 100, get us that 93rd Meatlock, keep us well within the green. Macy Barber was easy light work Meatlock for us last week, so we're trying to keep this new Meatlock streak alive, and we think our boy Tybura is the one to do it. So what's next, Meat Boy? You want to transition us over to Jofel Filio and O'Day Osborne?
Yeah, no, this is a great fight. For how dusty this card is, it still kind of slaps. I mean, Tybura is probably the best fight on the card, but there are some promising people on here. Yeah, I'm super excited to see O'Day maybe get the upset.
Yeah, this one should be interesting, right? Because last time we saw Ode Osborne, he was getting slept early and often in that second round, but it was against Asu Almabayev, who opened last week, and Almabayev looked pretty dang good. You wonder how far Almabayev can take that streak. So, you're concerned when Ode loses to a debutant, but then when more context is provided, the guy's pretty nice. So Ode Osborne is 12-6-1 overall. He's plus 150 dog. He has lost 2 of his last 3. His only loss being a split decision fight against Charles Johnson, which was at a catchweight fight. So it's been kind of up and down for Ode recently, but at plus 150, he's the guy in this fight with 5 times the experience that Jafel Filio has, and Filio's 14-3 overall, but is coming in off a nice first round finish of himself. Finally got his first UFC win, and this is a guy who's 1-1 in the UFC, will be a minus 180 favorite in this one, and his one loss was a fight I was at live. We've talked about it many times before, but it was against Muhammad Makayev, and Makayev was seconds away from getting submitted by Filio. Somehow he's able to squirm out of it and ultimately gets a finish for himself later in that third round. But a good outing from Filio, and he really went toe-to-toe with Makayev for as long as it did. So it makes sense to me why he's a minus 180 favorite in this one, but Ode Osborne is the one with the experience in this one. So in this flyweight banger, are you taking Ode as a slight dog, or is Filio at minus 180 worth the price and going to cash?
Yeah, I know. A great point on the Makayev fight, because he was like arguably maybe gonna win that up until that neck crank came in. But also, has Makayev really been showing us that he's the next GOAT? Like, sure, he's been looking pretty good. He's on a great win streak. He is good. But seeing that Alex Perez fight on how close that was, it was like, I don't know if he's the next, Henry Cejudo. I don't know if he's the next, Mighty Mouse. I think he's solid. I think he'll stay top 5 for a long time. But I don't know. I don't see Makayev getting the belt. And arguably, Ode's fought in some really good fighters. I mean, when you look at his resume, he's fought way more veterans, way more experienced fighters. Win or loss, he still has a lot more under his belt compared to, the Pasture. The Pasture's best fight was, Makayev, but Makayev hasn't really shown that. I don't know. I don't really feel like. I feel like Makayev's so overhyped in my opinion. He's good, but he's not as good as everyone thinks he is in my opinion. That being said, I kind of like Osborne for this upset. I think, just the fact that, the Pasture's just got 2 fights in the UFC, and they're a bunch of no names besides Makayev, which Makayev was kind of a no name up until recently. When you compare that to Osborne's resume, Osborne has a lot more experience, and so maybe this is one of those fights where the experience is going to show here, and I think he might win, actually, by decision.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, if we look at your boy Jafel Filio, aka Pastor, he does train at Nova União, so a lot of tough guys there. Osborne, the Jamaican sensation, though, is working at Syndicate MMA, and obviously there's plenty of killers there as well. And you touched on the experience of Osborne, you touched on the level of competition. I mean, this is a guy who's been in there with Manel Kopp. He's been in there with Brian Kelleher. He got that win over CJ Vergara, who, yes, he always misses weight, but CJ's a pretty tough fighter. And then he's also been in there, like with, as mentioned, Asu Almabayev. So he's been in there with some very tough guys. Makayev being Filio's toughest opponent, and we do sort of wonder what Makayev's true ceiling is. I mean, to play devil's advocate, he said he was sick against Alex Perez. That's why he was unable to get a finish. But you're right. I might be starting to temper my expectations on Makayev, because I had been invested on him being the GOAT of GOATs, and perhaps I need to pull that back a little bit and recognize he might be a year or 2 away still. But nonetheless, Filio was that close to getting that one done. And this one, I think he might be close to getting this one done against Ode Osborne. But I'm going to roll with you, Meat Boy. I'm going to go with Osborne, the slight dog. I like his experience. I like his training partners. And I like his well-rounded nature. And the fact that he's basically the same size as Filio. I mean, Filio is a pretty big 125er. 5'7" with a 69-inch reach, but Ode Osborne has those long arms, 74-inch reach, one of the longest for the division, so maybe that's able to help him get the fight where he wants to be and avoid those disadvantageous positions on the ground, because obviously Filo is going to try to get this one to the mat, try to implement his top-heavy BJJ, and on Tapology, many think he's going to have some success in so doing. I mean, 82% is rolling with Pastor. It's basically all copper for that sub, and only 18% is rolling with Osborne, majority decision. If you're rolling with the 18% that is picking Osborne, I'm right there with you, Meat Boy. Are we going decision, KO, submission? How does Osborne win this one?
Yeah, I think I gotta go decision on this one. Maybe KO. I don't know about submission. I mean, this guy almost submitted Makayev, and Makayev, he is a good grappler and good at jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a decision. It's gonna be a fun fight. These guys are very fast, so it should be exciting no matter what. Maybe a KO, but I'm feeling the decision most likely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it all the way. I think decision is probably safest. Maybe KO if Osborne's able to really get those strikes going for sure. But let us know if we are sleeping on Filio too much and we're riding this veteran train of Osborne straight to BKFC and to an empty wallet. But let us know down low for sure. Move us on over, Meat Boy. We got another fun banger in this one. Isaac Dolgarian is putting his undefeated record on the line against Christian Rodriguez, who at 10-1 is going to be a slight dog in this one, which I was a little bit surprised to see. Dolgarian is a minus 175 favorite, and I guess it makes sense. I mean, Dolgarian debuted late last year. It was against Francis Fire Marshall, and the Fire Marshall got absolutely burned. The dude got smoked in one round. Easy light work for Dolgarian, and Dolgarian got on the mic with a lot of confidence saying he's the guy, he's going to be the next champ, and was really speaking with a lot of conviction. So if you were unfamiliar with Isaac Dolgarian prior to that fight, you definitely knew who he was after it for sure. But he's taking on C-Rod, who is a very sneaky fighter in this division. If we remember, this is the guy who fought Raul Rosas Jr. when Rosas was still undefeated, had all the hype. He was coming in at like a minus 300 favorite, and you and I were the only ones in this UFC pick YouTube sphere that were saying, hey, C-Rod's probably going to get this one done because Raul Rosas is low-key bad and C-Rod is low-key good. And what happened in that one, we were spot on. It was an easy light work decision for C-Rod. And then in the next fight, we ended up being split on this one because I know you've been riding with Cameron Simon, but that was another fight that C-Rod, I don't want to say made look easy, but another unanimous decision for him in that one. So he's used to being a dog. He's used to fighting undefeated fighters. Does he get this one done over Dolgarian, or is Isaac Dolgarian really the truth, really going to be too much for C-Rod and really be the one to put C-Rod's lights out? Who are you taking?
Yeah, I think C-Rod is the real deal. After seeing those, I picked against C-Rod, not really believing it. I'm kind of sold. He is probably the most slept on, well-rounded, amazing fighters. I mean, his striking is absolutely insane. His cardio is insane. His grappling is insane, and his defense is insane. I mean, the kid is so well-rounded. Makes sense why he is the favorite in this. But I could see it going either way, but I gotta go with C-Rod on this. I really like him. I feel like he's a sleeper. And I feel like in like 2 or 3 fights, I think they're gonna start pushing this kid. I think he might be the real deal that just no one knows yet.
Yeah, it seems like only a select few are firmly aboard the C-Rod train, but there definitely are plenty of seats remaining, and whoever's ready to sit next to the Meat Boys, I feel like it's a good opportunity because while we do like Isaac Dolgarian, the Midwest Choppa, I mean, C-Rod is just a little bit too well-rounded, and Dolgarian I think might have the speed advantage, might even be a better striker, but if we're talking MMA, who's going to be a little bit more well-rounded? I'm kind of with you, Meat Boy. I do think that C-Rod will be able to get this one done, and it's one of those rare ones, Meat Boy, where Rodriguez is a decent dog, Dolgarian is a pretty sizable favorite, but Tapology is actually finally starting to see C-Rod, so we got to acknowledge it. 74% is rolling with Christian Rodriguez, the dog. 26% is rolling with Dolgarian. So are you at all surprised by the Tapology metrics and basically all of Rodriguez? They're going for a decision. Do you agree with that? Does C-Rod win by decision?
Most likely, but I could totally see a KO happening, second or third round. But most likely it's going to be a decision.
Yeah, decision seems safe to me too, and I'm with you, boy. I'm gonna go C-Rod. Maybe even gets it a finish on this one if he's trying to go out there and prove a point. And if C-Rod can go out there and not only get the first L for Dolgarian, but get it by finish, then it's gonna be impossible to ignore C-Rod in this division because this is a guy who at 10-1, his one loss was up a division, and he went the distance against JSP Jonathan Pierce, who is a massive featherweight and a guy that finishes a lot of guys himself. I mean. JSP finished that meathead Joe Anderson Britu, who is absolute muscle shark. So C-Rod's no joke. Let's ride the dog in this one, and we're both going C-Rod. So let us know down below if you're taking Dolgarian or if you're taking Dogarian Christian Rodriguez. But nonetheless, transition us over, Meat Boy. We got two. Oh man, it's Barberena, who is one of my favorite fighters. I love Brian Barberena, taking on Mearshart, who is 35-17 overall. Don't want to dog the guy too hard, but it's been pretty rough for him recently. He's only won one of his last four. Last time we saw him was a pretty close split decision against Andre Petrosky. Probably a little bit too close of a fight, so to speak, but nonetheless, Mearshart was on the losing end of it, but as much as I love Barberena, it's been rough for him too lately. He's lost 3 straight. He did manage to go the distance most recently against Muradov, and that was his middleweight debut. So I guess it was encouraging in the sense that he kept getting finished after finished at welterweight. He climbs up to 85 and is able to go the distance. So he's staying at 185 in this one against Mearshart, who is a minus 250 favorite, which is absolutely crazy. I can't imagine laying any chalk on a minus 250 GM3, but nonetheless, Barberena, second fight at 185, it's against GM3. Any chance he's able to get this one done, or is it going to be a 4th straight loss for Barberena in this one?
Yeah, sad to say, I hope Barberena gets this done, but I think it is going to be another loss. I think GM3 is going to be way too big for him, and I think he might get a sub in the second or third round, to be honest. But Barberena always has a puncher's chance, and he throws bombs, right? So he could catch GM3. GM3 is not prone to not getting knocked out. It's kind of his bread and butter. Get knocked out or fake get knocked out and throw a submission. I think it's going to be a GM3 classic. He gets knocked down, fake knocked out. They don't call it. They should have called it. Oh, wait, triangle. Yeah, I think GM3 is going to take this one.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Barberena maybe having some early success and just being 1 or 2 punches away from finishing GM3, who somehow survives and manages to get a 3rd round finish. I mean, we've seen this story from GM3 a multitude of times for sure. And if we look at Barberena's recent losses, he was getting, he's losing decisions. He got KO'd a couple times, and then recently he's been losing by sub a lot. So it's like Gunnar Nelson slept him in the first round via armbar. RDA slept him with neck crank. I mean, I guess he didn't sleep him, but you know what I mean. He's getting submission losses. So not great when you're going against GM3, who basically only can win by submission. It's tough for him to win in other ways for sure. But if you look at Tapology, Meat Boy, 82% is rolling GM3, 18% Barberena. Basically, all of the GM3 backers are by submission. Any chance this fight goes the distance? I mean, for some reason I can see this one playing out similar to the Petrosky contest, where each round is pretty close, both guys are pretty bad, neither able to secure a finish, and then by the end we're kind of holding our hands in the air, unsure of who won. So all the money's going to be coming in on GM3 submission. Is decision for either guy in play?
If there is a decision, that will surprise me, to be honest, because Barberena is there to finish, and GM3 is there to get finished or do a YOLO submission. I don't think there's any way this goes the distance, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out for sure, because I can see many different pathways for sure. But in this one, Meat Boy, I've been going back and forth. I'm going to roll Barberena, bro. I mean, it's probably not wise because GM3, like you said, will be much bigger, but GM3 is older by a couple years. Barberena is, similar in size, but will be, giving up about 5 inches in reach. So it's not ideal, but I'm going to buy the hype. I'm going to say that there's 2 Bam Bams on this card, and one we already faded because the Meatlock is Tybura. So I'm not going to fade both Bam Bams. I'm taking one of them. I'm taking Barberena to win a decision over GM3. I like him to just find a way to survive any precarious moments. And while I think the rounds could be close, I'm giving the slight edge to Barberena. So I'm saying it does go the distance, Meat Boy. I'm taking Barberena, but definitely sketchy for sure because it's bum-on-bum violence, and you never know what you're going to be getting for sure. But I got Barberena. Move us on over, Meat Boy, because, I mean, speaking of bum-on-bum, this one exemplifies that nomenclature for sure. It's OSP, who is a plus 380 dog, taking on Kenny Nzechukwu, who at 12-4 is minus 500. And we were inspecting the lines last weekend, and we saw that minus 500 Kenny Nzechukwu, and we're really quite stymied by that information because rarely would Kennedy at minus 200 scream value. So minus 500 just seems ludicrous, but nonetheless, what are your thoughts on this one, Meat Boy, before we even dive into the specifics? Do you like OSP at a plus 380 dog? Is there any chance that he can, even though he's lost 3 or 4, find a way to take out Kennedy because Kennedy at moments is low-key bad, or is Kennedy just going to be too good for OSP, and similar to what OSP usually does, he's getting smoked in this one? Who are you taking?
Yeah, no, most likely OSP gets knocked out, but we got to remember this is Kennedy. I mean, Kennedy has beaten some of the best and he's lost to some of the worst. I could totally see Kennedy getting this W, and I could totally see OSP getting this W. This is winnable for both guys. They're both on the similar level, except one's way, more grizzled and elderly, versus Kennedy's a little more younger in the UFC. I gotta go with OSP because you gotta root for the OG, and I think an upset's gonna happen. I like these odds. These odds are so crazy. There's no way Kennedy should be a minus 500. That is absolute ludicrous. I mean, that's Umar Nurmagomedov kind of numbers, and this is OSP. I mean, OSP went the distance with John Jones. Like, come on, that's crazy. So when you think of it like that, I gotta go with OSP. Those odds are just so juicy. I think OSP's gonna get it done. Kennedy's low-key a bum, but people think he's good because he beat Black Jag on the 2-pump chump. But if he didn't gas out, that was gonna be a short night for Kennedy.
He did beat the Black Jag, and that's always one that sort of stumps us because, like, how did he get that done over Black Jag? How did Black Jag gas after that first round? I mean, he was that close from finishing Kennedy, but ultimately Kennedy somehow survived and was able to just really turn the tables on Olberg in that next round. But nonetheless, I mean, you mentioned OSP. He did go the distance with John Jones. You and I were there live. It was UFC 197, I believe. It was supposed to be versus DC, but if you think about it, Meat Boy, that was UFC 197. UFC 300 is in a couple weeks, so it's a couple years removed from the John Jones versus OSP peak, I can call it, and OSP, meanwhile, is 40 years old. He's coming in this one with 1 million UFC fights, 900,000 UFC losses, and 40 years on the birth certificate. So for those reasons alone, Meat Boy, I gotta fade you. I mean, I'm with you in the sense that there's zero value at a minus 500 Kennedy Nzechukwu odds perspective because, yes, there's the OSP, the YOLO SP, OSP choke that the Von Prue choke that he could always whip out on Kennedy for sure, and Kennedy has succumbed by finish before and is a guy who can find himself in dangerous situations, but it's not enough for me to pick OSP. I'm gonna go with the African Savage Kenny Nzechukwu, and I actually think that maybe he gets this one done in the first round. Could be one that OSP is mentally disengaged from the onset. He probably knows he is a lamb headed out to slaughter, and Nzechukwu is going to be the one to put the finishing touch on the OSP career. But if we look at Tapology, Meat Boy, 95% is rolling with Kennedy. It's basically all Brown. They think by KO. Do you see a world where OSP gets finished? And if Kennedy does lose this fight, how do you anticipate OSP cashing as a dog?
If OSP cashes at a dog, it's going to be submission. KO, that's a stretch, I think, because he has 40, but he's got that submission, and it's an OSP classic. I could see maybe Kennedy dropping him, getting on top. OSP kind of takes control. Because how good is Kennedy on the ground? I don't know. I doubt he's going to be OSP level, but I'm excited to see. I think it will be submission if he gets it done. If it stays on the feet, I am worried for OSP and his health. He should probably retire.
Yeah, it probably would be bad news for as long as it is on the feet, and you hope for YOLO SP's safety that he's able to implement his game plan. But I'm unsold on it personally. But let us know down low who you think is winning that fight. Do you think that OSP is going to get the vaulted Saint Preux choke, go out on top, have the storybook ending, or is the African Savage going to just tear the pages from the story right away? I kind of see it that way. So I'm going to go first round finish for the homie African Savage. Meat is obviously rolling with OSP. Switch us over to the last fight, Meat Boy. It's the co-meet event, and one that we're pretty excited for. Brian Battle really getting a cool opportunity in a co-meet slot against Ange Lusa, who is plus 140, 10-3 overall, and riding a pretty nice two-fight win streak himself coming into this one. If we remember, this is a guy who fought on the Contender Series, really had some nice moments against Jack Della Maddalena, and ultimately Jack was able to turn that fight around, especially midway through the contest, and pick up the decision. But Lusa showed a lot of good moments in that fight. Ultimately ended up getting one more win in ex-MMA for Black Magic against John Howard, and then that earned him his shot, his career in the UFC, where he's gone 2-1. He lost his debut to Manu Lazez, aka the Sniper, but he's won 2 straight, beat AJ Fletcher, beat Reese McKee, and while yes, both of those guys are bad, Brian Battle's most recent win was against AJ Fletcher himself. So while we have been impressed with what Battle has been doing lately, they're fighting, near similar guys in the rankings thus far. So the matchmaking and opportunity for both men completely makes sense. But Battle's a minus 166 favorite. Ange Lusa's plus 140. You taking Brian Battle in this co-meet opportunity, or is Lusa coming in to loosen up Brian Battle's limbs?
Yeah, I don't think Lusa's going to be doing much because I think Brian Battle's going to absolutely decimate him, just like he did to Gabriel Green. I mean, Brian Battle's 6'2". He's been looking more chiseled than ever. He's been looking better and better after every fight, even after the loss of Renat. He's coming back with 2 finishes, and I think this is going to be a third one. Gabriel Green knocked him out first round. I'd see the same exact thing. Both those guys are 5'10". They're scary power, but they're significantly shorter and smaller than Brian Battle. Brian Battle seems like after he did the show, it was like he just became a new animal. I mean, he's more chiseled, more jacked, better, faster, stronger. Compared on the show, he kind of looked like below average fighter. It's kind of crazy to see how much better he's gotten, and he keeps getting. This is a fun fight, but yeah, I think Brian Battle's a fake lock.
Yeah, this one's fun, and yeah, you're right. Brian Battle might be a fake lock in this one because I mean the dude has just a nice record. His only UFC loss was against Renat Fakhretdinov, and obviously Renat is one of the top guys in the division. That was just way too much too soon, but yeah, I guess it was encouraging. Yes, he got dominated the entire time, but Renat has been picking up some nice finishes lately, and at least Battle was able to go the distance and earn those 15 minutes of ring time with a guy that high level because that experience has really done him wonders in the sense that ever since then, he's been getting guys out of there early and often. Again, you mentioned it, Gabe Green. That fight was over in 14 seconds, just a beautiful counter right hook. And then AJ Fletcher, he won by rear naked. So it's cool to see him winning by KO, winning by submission, and really highlighting the development across all disciplines that he has been showcasing. Because remember, if we saw him on The Ultimate Fighter, yes, he had his moments, he looked good, he won it. But I mean, the version that we've seen of him recently is exponentially better than even that winner we saw a few years back. And this fight, I mean, I think it's pretty similar to Tresean Gore, right? I mean, Tresean Gore is on the shorter side of the division. He's pretty similar to Ange Lusa, around 5'10", has that 74-inch reach. And Battle, meanwhile, is 6'2", carries a 78-inch reach. So he's going to be taller, going to be longer, and I think that we've seen this story before. We saw how the Gore fight went against Brian Battle. It was easy light work, fake lock for Pooh Bear. So I think it's more the same in this one against Lusa. I do think Lusa is better than Gore, but I see the outcome being the same nonetheless. But Tapology Meat Boys right there with us. They think that Battle is a fake lock. 86% is rolling with Brian. Majority base for decision, and 14% is rolling with Ange Lusa. If you're taking Brian Battle, do you think he picks up a finish in this one? Does he continue the finish streak, or is Tapology locked on to decision for a good reason?
Yeah, I think it's a finish, man. I don't know. I think it's gonna go just like the Gabe Green. And it's like kind of scary because the guy is strong. The guy is, he's jacked. He's powerful. Throws bombs for hands. But I think he's gonna end up eating a Pooh Bear punch. I think Pooh Bear's gonna put him to sleep with a little honey on it.
Yeah, very nice, Meat Boy. Put him to sleep, add some honey to it, and I'm right there with you. I think Pooh Bear picks up a finish in this one. Hopefully he does something slick on the mic, because I would love to see him maybe not go right back to the Renat level of guys, but kind of just exit this bottom tier of the division, go back up towards the top, because you got to imagine there are some more fun fights out there for Brian Battle to pick, so to speak. But lastly, Meat Boy, and again, if you made it this far, Meat Boys, appreciate you always grilling and chilling with the boys. And if you agree with some of our picks, let us know. If you disagree, if we're fading the wrong guys, obviously let us know as well. But last week, Meat Boy, UFC 299, we went 6-5. This both of us went 6-5. This week we broke down 6. What do you think our record's going to be? I think that personally, I think we're sweeping it, Meat Boy. I think it's 6-0, but I don't know because you picked OSP. So what do you think your record's going to be?
I would love to say 6-0, but yeah, I gotta go 6-1. Worst case 5-1. Worst case 4-2.
Yeah, worst case 4-2, maybe 5-1, maybe 6-0. Who knows? That's the fun part of breaking these fights down. But again, let us know if you made it this far. Smash subscribe if you are new here. Let us know if you're fading the Meatlock, and it's been real.